There was someone named whose name was like Smelly Smithereens or something, and I was like, could equally be a Zoom bomber or one of my friends. Like I really.
That seems more likely to be one of your friends. I would think that was you if they were coming to my Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the volume of requests that you've made to make offensive endorsements on LinkedIn kind of invites that kind of thing.
No, I just asked for the endorsement of keeping it real. I never asked for people to endorse me for butt stuff. People just did that on their own.
Do you feel, though, that it was a dishonest endorsement?
I mean,
good question.
It's a great question. I guess it depends on your definition of butt stuff, really.
Sounds like
putting gerbils in your butt.
That I think I'm not great at.
That's not what I heard on LinkedIn.
But as far as there's other things that I'm very good at when it comes to butt stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Rob put gerbils in his butt. He's not good at it.
You're so unfair. You never let me muck around back there.
It's true.
Wow.
For a lot, and for good reasons.
The way to do it is to put the gerbil head first.
I think the saddest part is there isn't rent control on Rob's butt, and that gerbil just lives there, and the rent keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah, well, the argument is that if there's rent control on my butt, then it's going to drive down rent prices outside the city. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with it, but
I heard that TD Bank is going to open a branch in Rob's butt.
The problem is they want naming rights, which I am not ready to give up yet.
Are you still calling your butt the Fleet Center?
I call it Great Woods.
Have you guys seen the mall in there? It's completely empty. The mall in Rob's butt. There's no business in the world there anymore.
There's a JP Licks in there, I hear, though.
Hey everyone, welcome to the virtual gas. We just found out earlier today that Great Scott, which is among other things, hosted the gas for 14 years, has announced that they're not going to be reopening after the quarantine ends, which is very very sad.
For me personally, I've hosted the show there for almost 14 years, and so Great Scott has been a huge part of my life. But it's a small sliver of what that venue was meant to the community for years. It's just been a place for performance and culture for such a long time.
I don't know. It's just really sad. And we're gonna get to some funny stuff.
Hey Rob, I'm really sorry.
Yes.
We didn't get any of that. It's broadcast to the wrong place.
Sure. Yeah. I'll just say that exact same thing over again. I don't know if I can get the stammers and the awkward pauses exactly the same.
Do your best.
Rob, are you able to recreate a heart-touching eulogy a second time?
A lot of people have said that Nick Ortolani died before his time. Others are more honest.
You have no idea how much this is playing into my fantasy right now, Rob.
Welcome to the Virtual Gas. This is the online version of the Gas of Great Scott show that I hosted 14 years before the quarantine. And it's a very melancholy time right now because we found out earlier today that Great Scott will not be opening after the quarantine, which is extremely sad. Great Scott has meant so much to me for the past decade and a half. I've spent so much time there. Even before I ran the show there, it was one of my favorite places to see live music. This comedy show that I did there weekly for 14 years was a huge deal to me, but I know that it's a really small percentage of what the venue Great Scott meant to the community as a whole, as a place for live music, other cultural things. In the summer when you could sit on the patio and Alston isn't completely overrun with students, some of my favorite memories are, having a beer on that patio when I wasn't even there for anything that night. Everyone that works there has always been really great. Pretty devastating to have it close so unceremoniously after being such a part of the city and the community for such a long time. So we're gonna get to some jokes, and probably a lot of people will make fun of me a lot, which is what I'm a lot more comfortable with that than with being sincere. But to start, does anyone have anything any specific memories of Great Scott they want to share?
I remember when Diarrhea Planet sold out, but my album recording didn't.
It was pretty full though. I mean, especially just considering like the variance of talent between those two shows, I feel like you were way higher sold than you should have.
Oh, for sure.
I was there a couple of years ago for seeing this band called Bleach.
Oh yeah.
And they covered a Ramones song. I think it was like Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World. And I like went up on stage to sing, and then I stage dove and no one caught me. Hit my head really hard.
When they first started doing shows at Great Scott, the stage used to have kind of like a metal fence that was on, and there was the stairs that you would walk up to get on the stage, and then there were two sort of corners of fencing on either side of the stage with like a little space in the middle. But just every single singer that didn't play guitar would just do the entire show standing on that fence, holding onto the above speaker monitors, until they put up signs that said do not touch these speakers, and then they took down the fence, and but then the sign that said do not touch the speakers just stayed there forever.
Yeah.
And so it was always like, why can you not touch these speakers? And it was because for a while it was real dangerous. Dana Gould headlined, and Andrew Durso, who's used to be a comedian in Boston. Now, he's still a comedian, just isn't in Boston anymore. Was talking to Dana Gould afterwards, and he was saying, he was like,
I just feel so great to see you here, because I'm just a huge fan. I perform it all the time, so it's just really amazing to have you, someone I admire so much, performing a place that I perform all the time.
And then Dana Gould said, "Oh, I totally get that. It's great to meet people you admire. That's why I wrote Elvis Costello onto The Simpsons." And then I said, "My image," which is one of Elvis Costello's lines from that. And then Dana Gould said, "I hope you won't judge the rest of the Brian Setzer Orchestra for my actions." And it was just so fun it was like doing that thing that comedians do all the time, where they just like speak Simpsons lines back and forth to each other without having any real emotional connection. And but I was doing it with the guy that wrote the lines, and it was very fun.
I performed with Brody Stevens, like when I used to smoke. I watched him do a show. There were like 30 people there, and I hosted, and then we got high outside. And then he said, "Man, not a lot of people came to my show." And I was like, "Yeah, man, but don't worry about it." And then he killed himself.
So not necessarily because of that, we should say. Or probably there were other factors.
Yeah,
You had something to say, I think, Vally?
Whoa, weird. I had just unrelated weird. I do have some thoughts. Never mind. Do you remember the time that you and I co-hosted a show, Rob, at the Great Scott, and then you made fun of me for not being good at handstands, and we did a handstand contest on the stage? Yeah, probably not the safest. If we had made a habit of it, I bet they would have put a sign somewhere.
For those who don't know me, I used to host the show with Rob. When we started the show, no one came to it because no one knew about it, and it wasn't known as a comedy venue. And most of the time, it was just the Golden Tee guys. There used to be a Golden Tee next to the stage, and these old men would very loudly play Golden Tee while we were trying to work out material. For literally like 2 years, we were regularly doing this show, and no one was coming. And Rob particularly worked really hard to get people to come. But through all that, the entire Great Scott staff was always super supportive and super helpful. And Carl Lavin just stuck by it because he thought it was a good idea. It's just important to mention how huge the staff for Great Scott was, and how great Carl was to all of us to let us keep using that space, because we were not making him money.
I think we both had this feeling that like we would feel bad if we would do the show and not enough people would show up, because we knew that the bar was relying on us to bring in people to buy drinks, and so we would really try to make up for that variance by just buying so many drinks.
I weighed 110 pounds when that show started,
and I had jet gray hair.
I was unemployed at the time. I was on my way to the gas, and Rob asked me if I wanted to bark for the show for like $20, and I was like, "This is great." And the headliner on the show was someone who had been on the Two Dope Queens podcast a lot. So when I was barking, I was trying to tell people that, but I got the wires crossed, and I was like telling everyone I was barking the show to that it was like, "Oh yeah, it's one of the girls from Broad City." So There was like 20 people at the gas who were really mad at me for lying to them, but it was a good show.
Yeah.
Still not the worst barker that I've ever had.
Who the best person to ever bark with was, though? Terrence. I don't know if it was charm, but it was just an energy.
He was able to be very like loud and aggressive without being threatening. And
yeah,
that's it's a rare skill.
Chris, on the other hand, does not need to be loud to be threatening.
That's true.
Rob, you were the first person to give me a weekend show. I remember bragging to my friends because we used to go to so many punk and metal shows there. I was like, I'm going to be on stage at Great Scott. And you put me on, after Jai Young Lee, who literally, peeled the paint off the walls. And I was like 6 months in. I went up and ate such hard shit in front of my friends. And they were like, maybe it's time to put this to bed real quick.
The first time I ever hosted the show without Rob had another show. He was like, oh, can you do it yourself? And I was like, yeah, for sure. I'd love to. I'm way funnier than Rob. I was wrong. But yeah, so I was like super amped about it. But there was a comic who was like a crust punk who a lot of people knew. I was hosting the show and my ex-girlfriend and all of her really cool friends showed up. And I just panicked and ate shit for like an hour every time between every single comic. And so these poor comics are just going up like feeling sorry for me. So a couple of them did okay, but I ruined like 6 comic sets by being like, oh, I wish Rob was here.
I've definitely had shows like that where I tried too long to win an audience that was never going to like me back.
Speaking of an ex showing up, I feel like after you date one or 1,500 comedians, your ex is everywhere. pretty much every memory I have of being at the gas, I'm like, oh, and so was there, and so were 4 other people. I was like, cool, just gonna watch the show.
Yeah, I've done some shows with my exes over the years.
Yeah, well, you could not do that if you'd stopped inviting them back.
But they're funny.
They are very funny. But one of the really great things about the gas was we got to work with other comics who were figuring their voices out and figuring out how to work a crowd. And after a while, Rob and I think felt like we kind of knew our audience pretty well, and we got a lot of comics who were not used to that type of show. We're used to a more like club oriented show, and they do material that just like was never going to fly at the gas. And we'd go and talk to them and kind of be like encourage them to like maybe read it. Read the audience a little and not do that kind of material.
Anyone that knows me can interpret that when he says we would go talk to them, meant Matt would go talk to them, and I would be like, I guess he's got a point.
Actually, the example I'm going to use was you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this one comedian, he just was really committed to doing this material about wanting to hit cyclists.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And he told us about it beforehand, and we were like, that might be funny, but this might not be the right room for it.
Yeah.
And then as he was on, he couldn't see outside, but the window to the right of the audience, you could see a woman got hit by a car on a bicycle. Like, so that happened while he was on stage. And after that happened, the comedian continued doing the material about a woman being hit by how he wanted to hit cyclists with his car. And the audience was real upset.
Everyone that worked at Great Scott was a cyclist, and
when he got off, Rob was like, to his credit, the comedian was like, no, I'm gonna do that material from now on. So it was cool to see people figure out like whether or not they could evolve on stage or not, and that was an example of not. But
and that comedian, Brian Regan.
For the first gas I ever did, it was hosted by Gary Big Dick Peterson and Cam McNeil.
It
was like
hosting?
a Halloween gas, and I think I only got invited on because I lent Cam McNeil a trench coat, and they were like, "Yeah, just do some like dumb character. You'll like come and trick or treat on the stage." The big closing bit would just was me spitting blood, and I told Gary that I was going to do it, and he didn't believe me, and so I did, and Gary was like very visibly upset and startled by it.
Sometimes when you tell a host something right before the show starts, they are incapable of hearing it. Please welcome Will Smalley. Will? Hey.
Lovely to be here. Things are good. I still have to go to work, which is a blessing. I have a mac and cheese ready to go in the oven. So I'm excited to be done with this.
You're ready to be done with this, did you say, or you're?
No, I'm excited to be done so I can go eat my mac and cheese.
That's reasonable. I think this show's pretty fun. Usually funner than it is right now, maybe. But I mean, yeah, a baked mac and cheese sounds amazing.
No, it's no judgment on the show. It's just.
Oh no, I'm judging macaroni and cheese as being something that you would want to eat. I know coming from me that might sound condescending, but it's not. I wouldn't eat it, but I think I can see how you would want to eat it, and that would be pleasant.
You're judging it in a good way.
I'm judging it positively, even though it's not for me.
That's how we are with gerbils.
I would never want to eat one of those little pellets, but when I see them going at it seems like they like it. So,
which is what I use to top the mac and cheese is
gerbil pellets.
Yeah, a little butter, a little gerbil pellet.
It feels like that would be a good source of fiber.
Oh, I should tell you, the mac and cheese is for our gerbils. We have a lot of gerbils.
Again, just feeding into stereotypes. I mean, very old stereotypes, but
and big Richard Gere fans.
But really, who isn't? I mean,
right?
That really happened.
That did not really happen.
Yeah, it did.
That is not possible.
One of my mom's friends was the chief of medicine at LA General when it happened.
I just find this impossible to believe.
Yeah.
You're saying that this is true, that Richard Gere put a gerbil into his anus.
Oh, yeah.
Did it die?
Yes.
Gerbil?
Yeah.
His dignity. There goes all my jokes.
So you are still going into work?
Yeah.
How's that?
It's pretty stressful. I work in a rest home. It can be very tense day by day, but people are still very weird and funny, and like I'm glad to be around 50 elderly residents who will say whatever the fuck they want to say.
What have they been saying about this?
Oh, it's all thumbs up.
They love it?
Super fans of COVID.
It's about time they say something thinned out the herd.
Well, initially it was, it was met with a lot of like, wow, we can't, like, why can't we go out? And it's like, well, because
you specifically will die.
Yeah, and now that the stories are rolling in, they're like, oh, thank you.
What is it like day to day? Like, how has your interaction changed with them? Can you still spend sort of the same amount of time with people that you were? Or?
Well, my position was like admin, and I worked a front desk position. So I don't see people come down as much because they're all in their rooms.
So now, like, they're not allowed to come complain to you about.
I mean, they still do
Wi-Fi stuff or whatever. I don't know what you do.
It's tough because some of them have memory issues, and I tried this joke once at a show, and it did not go over well. But I said my job was like being a concierge at a goldfish hotel. It didn't work very well with the audience. So I've never said it again until now on the recorded internet show that I'm doing.
Yeah, it worked pretty well here. I think I guess when you stack it up to a bunch of people reminiscing about something that they loved going away, it's very funny.
I hate the Great Scott.
He's been calling for it to be shut down for years.
I thought it was the adequate Scott.
Yeah, what about Mikey? Is he just at home, or is he still going to work?
He is not. He's at home. We got married in November, and in the vows, the last thing I said was I can't wait for retirement. And now I'm like, oh wait, I'm pulling back on that. I'm like, no. wait. Just kidding.
As a favor to me, could you tell the story of what your brothers did at your wedding?
I don't owe you any favors, Rob.
I would owe you one.
We did a small show in the wedding, sort of housed some best man speeches in that. My brothers did a very funny speech where they sort of talked about us growing up as kids. And
as an outsider, I should say, when it first started, your first brother got up and gave a speech that was like pretty standard and good. And then your second brother got up, and it really quickly started to get out of hand.
Yeah. Yeah, to the point where people were kind of whispering to each other, "Are they too drunk for this? Is this like still? Are we in? What's happening?" Where they started fighting, and then it turned into a full-on WWE introduction when I was handed a world championship belt, which, Rob, I don't know if you know this, I didn't get to keep. That was my nephew's, and he wanted it.
He wanted it back.
On my wedding day, I'm in a nice suit, and I put this on, and I'm the happiest that I've ever been. Don't tell Mikey. But I put the belt on, and I'm feeling great. And then at the end of the show, my older brother's like, "Oh, you're gonna need to give that back. That's Liam."
Isn't the fourth anniversary the WWE Championship belt anniversry? So they're probably
be on the anniversary. It is. It better be a tag team the first year, Intercontinental the second year, a women's belt.
How's being home the rest of the time?
It's pretty great, and there's no rules. There's no FOMO. No one's doing anything. I love having things on my calendar, but when those things get canceled, what a great feeling that is. I think there'll be a breaking point where it's like, oh.
Yeah. So I do think there is still some FOMO, fear of missing out, but it's just different. I think now a lot of people are like, should I have gotten Disney Plus or should I have gone with CBS All Access? Like I just don't, which is, you know.
I think the answer is Disney.
Yeah, that's what I went with. Yeah, I went with the Disney Plus.
Unless you're a Picard fan, and fuck Jim Parsons.
Jim Parsons?
Yeah, he's at Big Bang. That's on there, right?
Which one is Jim Parsons?
He's the guy from Big Bang. He's the
Bazinga?
Which one?
Sheldon. Yeah, Bazinga.
Sheldon. Oh, not young Sheldon.
The old Sheldon.
Do you think that eventually young Sheldon will get popular enough that they'll rebrand Big Bang Theory as Old Sheldon? Or do you think that they'll just put out another show called Old Sheldon in like 5 years where he reprises his role as Sheldon but is older?
Oh, I would love them to like choose an older actor, like a Hal Holbrook type guy. Is he still alive?
No. Oh, no.
Definitely not.
I think that's who would be the best old Sheldon. Yeah. I mean, Don Knotts is dead, so he's out.
I was gonna say Kevin Spacey, but he's canceled.
Why? What happened?
He was like rude to a cashier.
No, you can't. That's what we have to.
They're essential workers.
We have to say he's really bad.
We have to say it. This is recorded. We have to say that Kevin Spacey was really bad.
Oh, this is recorded. In that case,
really
yes.
Bad.
We thought K-Pax. He was really bad.
He was a thirsty man.
He was very bad.
Let's just say the greatest trick the devil ever played was talking the 14-year-old boy back up to his room. It's a terrible joke. I would love to say I ad-lib, but it is on my album.
Is that album available anywhere?
It's deadmellow.com, actually, yes.
And Rob, what's it called again?
Oh, it's called Sadly Sacred, Nick.
I have a mac and cheese available tonight at my place. I can drop down from my porch if you want. We've busied ourselves. We've rearranged some stuff in the apartment. We've moved our office into our bedroom and our bedroom into our office. We painted some stuff, and I came across my first notebook, my first comedy notebook that like I used to write down every gig. I want to see if the gas is in there.
When is this from?
This is from when I first started, April 8th, 2009 is when I first started. I want to see if the gas is one of... Nope, you didn't book me.
Yeah. It took a while for me to agree to book homosexual comedians. It was very traditional. It really was Matt Wilding's doing. I mean...
It was the first. Well, no, you booked Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, and I was.
Well, we didn't know.
I was long gone by 2009, dude. Don't put this shit on me.
It was very funny on SNL.
You guys, we have to say he's really bad. We can't say all this good stuff. We have to say he's really bad.
He's also really bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the thing that we need to say is is Kevin Spacey basically has 2 tricks as an actor, and once you figure out those 2 tricks, his performances aren't that good. All right, there. We've said it.
Do you think you could like rank your top 10 or top 5 great gas shows?
Oh,
I don't mean
man.
like as a piece that you could write.
Well, he wasn't
do
sober enough to remember the first 35.
Oh, so true. I remember lots of the beginnings of shows. There are like some amazing headliners, like Tig Notaro and Hannibal Buress were like really memorable. But then from probably my favorite shows, there were shows that were like kind of just more regular shows where stuff went kind of crazy. I think one of my favorite shows ever was Gary Peterson, who quit comedy when his dick got burned off in a fire.
I thought it fell down the stairs and then a dog ran away.
Oh, that's right. His dick fell down the stair, fell off, rolled down the stairs. A dog picked it up and ran away. It's.
Did you eulogize his dick?
I did, yes. A lot of people said that Gary's dick was too smelly, whereas others focused on how ugly it was. It was so soft.
We have to say it was bad.
He was like the Angela. What was it? What was the name of the great ancient
Greek
philosopher?
Playwright.
Yeah, ancient playwright. How soft it gets.
How soft to get. How soft to get. Yeah.
You wouldn't believe.
You wouldn't believe. He starts soft, but boy, you won't believe how soft it gets.
Should we, for the first time, do our famous character via Zoom?
Yes, we'll do our famous character. This is our famous. Me and Will used to have a duo act for a while called the. What was the exact title of it? It was the.
Indignant 9-year-old.
Indignant 9-year-old and his friend. All right, I am the indignant 9-year-old. Why, I've never been so taken back in all my life. I expect better treatment when I come in to buy a package of bubble tape.
Damn, that 9-year-old's indignant.
Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Give it up for Will Smalley, folks. Welcome, Orish Till, who your girlfriend, Ori, had COVID and has since recovered. But so you actually had the experience of caring for someone who had the virus.
Yeah, we went through the whole thing. It started, and I'll just explain for anybody if you're curious about kind of what might actually happen if you come down with it. I'm just, I can only explain it day by day, right? Monday she came home and had was coughing, and we were like, oh shit, this is not good, right? A cough's not going away. Obviously, she stops going to work immediately, and then over the next couple of days, like all the basic symptoms started to develop, shortness of breath, chest pains, right? Wednesday is when she started experiencing slack jaw. That's about 15% of cases experience this. Slack jaw, that's the opposite of lock jaw, right? Lock jaw is when you can't move your jaw. Slack jaw is when you can't not move your jaw. You're just kind of jawing around all day, right? And it just got rougher from there, Thursday she started getting a fever about up to 100. Friday, that's when we really knew it was coronavirus, because she started experiencing some of the symptoms that make it tough to eat and drink, right? Started a loss of taste and smell.
Yeah.
She also started experiencing intestinal dyslexia. That's when boogers come out your butt and poop comes out your nose.
Yeah, I've read about this. That's really difficult.
That's very hard to say out loud.
Yeah. And so now, how would you deal with that? Basically, is it sort of a kind of a box of tissues by the butt, bedpan?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of blowing your nose, nose into the toilet to deal with the so much
blowing your butt into a tissue.
Poop. Yep. You exactly use tissues on the butt and toilet paper on the nose.
Which is once you make the transition, it's not that hard, but it is just a difficult transition to make.
It's a little weird. When everything's backwards. I saw you posted one which looked concerning that you might want to check out when your right and left foot were reversed.
Yeah, they switched.
There's
spots. COVID toes, which is sort of sores, but then there's also just a thing where your right and left foot switch, which can be it can be a symptom of COVID, but also in my case it was unrelated.
It was unrelated. You said the flu.
Yeah, I said the normal flu, but sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
She had a milder form of that where she just had 2 left feet, so they were both left feet. So the big toe was on the same spot. Yeah, which was real concerning because we ran out of socks pretty quickly.
Yeah,
since obviously you got right socks and left socks, so now all the right socks were just.
Yeah, well, it's like the one thing that makes you almost happy that you can't leave the house, because shoes would obviously be a huge problem.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You'd have to wear two different shoes. You know, shoes have two. You need 2 lefts, and then you've got all sorts of issues.
Have you ever gotten to work and realized that you're wearing 2 different shoes?
So that did actually happen to Lex. That's a real story from like about a year ago. She was on her way to work, and she got a weird cat call. And she didn't think much of it. Some guy was like, "Oh, I like your style," or something like that. And she was just like, "Oh, it's just some fucking idiot cat calling me." And then she got into the office. And then as soon as she walked in, she was having a rough morning. One of her coworkers came up, gave her a hug, and then looked down, and everybody just started laughing at her incessantly.
Yeah. It happened to me twice, where I first time I got to work and I realized I had 2 shoes. They were similar shoes, but they were different. You know, they were both brown dress shoes, but But then another time I got to work and I had 1 brown dress shoe on it and then a sneaker. And I was like, how did I not notice the whole train ride to work? But let's get back to these very serious symptoms of COVID.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little distracted. The loss of taste and smell was very pronounced. That's when we like really decided, all right, this is almost definitely this thing. And when you called to arrange to get a test. We did a drive-by test. They did the regular nasal test. We tried insisting on the rectal, and then that Saturday, that's when like her fever was really peaking at like over 102, and that was really concerning. That's when we came closest to go to the hospital, right? Because the fever was peaking. The last symptom, right, the portal to the dark dimension opening, that showed up, and then we're like, all right, we had a go bag ready in case we needed to go. I called Winchester Hospital. They were like, yes, you can come, don't listen to anything Cthulhu says. And, obviously it's much harder for her, but it was also tough on me. Cause I'm here, I was just trying my best to get her to eat. I got Cthulhu, the Dreadlord, demanding that I cross the planar threshold. And I said, listen, Cthulhu, I'm doing whatever the Commonwealth of Massachusetts tells me to do. And I'm not leaving my house. Okay. Not to get groceries, not to go to work, and not to enter eternal servitude to the Lord of Evil. So if you got a problem with that, take it up with the governor, okay? I'm pretty sure you donated to his campaign, Cthulhu, which he didn't like that at all.
Yeah, well, he doesn't like much.
Well, the problem is he's real bitter about the election because Cthulhu put so much money behind Hillary Clinton.
You wouldn't expect Cthulhu to be supporting the lesser of 2 evils. The worst part I find when you have a dark portal close is that is after it's closed, you think of all the things you could have thrown in there, like it's so much hard to get to dispose of an old cathode ray television. You got one of those lying around, the portal closed, and you're like, that would have been.
But then she started to recover gradually, right? Gradually could start to smell things again, which meant that I had to stop smoking 10 cigarettes a day, but it was good for her health. Gradually, her feet went back to normal. There was that was a gradual process. So there was 1 or 2 days where the big toe was in the middle, like as it was making its way back across. And then that kind of brings us to where we are now. She's pretty much back to normal, although as of last Wednesday, still tested positive. So
really,
really. Which is a major bummer. But it is nice having my family pick up groceries for me. That's good.
Have you been tested?
I just arranged an antibody test.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which I'm not sure. They said they have to draw blood to do it, and with all of the everything that's happening, I've had no symptoms, which leads me to believe that I must be Kryptonian. So I'm pretty sure that the yellow sun makes me invincible, and I don't know how they're going to draw blood for this test.
Yeah, see, I don't think I'm Kryptonian, but I do think I might have the Bruce Willis Unbreakable thing.
Oh, that's very good too.
I've just never been hurt. super emotional.
Physically.
Yeah.
Can I relate one quick Great Scott story? There was this one time we were at the gas, and I was about to go on, and we were waiting in the wings there, and you just brought up this person that I don't think you knew very well from New York, and this comedian started by just like insulting you a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then just bombing like incessantly, like just awful. And we're standing there.
Yeah, which sounds like a bad idea, and like it's not good comedy. But they're from New York, so
yeah, exactly. So
they live in New York. I mean,
this is basically the conversation we were having in the wings, just shitting on this person. And then I did some traveling later, and I went to Philly. And actually, there were a few people that I saw in Philly that I'd previously met at the gas. Some of whom were awesome. And then also, I saw this person at a show in Philly doing literally the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, no, they didn't just have a bad night. They just suck.
Bad.
That's it. They're just real shitty.
Obviously, now there's a time where we all are – there's a lot of confusion about this whole pandemic, and we all want to know more about it. And so I actually have an expert here that's going to tell us a little about it. So please welcome Dr. Larry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Larry.
Hey. Hello, good to see you, Robert.
So Doctor, tell us, so you are a doctor of environmental science and infectious disease, is that correct?
Yes, I study how the environment is impacted by the choices we make. And, you wouldn't think it, but a lot of things have consequences. So I want to share with some of our folks here, because in many parts of the country, people are not using canvas bags anymore. They're using one-use plastic bags. And I want to point out that one-use plastic bags are not biodegradable. You cannot throw them away. And they are the #1 killer of Robs every year.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that?
Yes, it's the #1 killer of Rob Creans every year, because the Rob Crean diet mainly gets confused. He will think that it is his main source of food, which is jellyfish dicks, and he will consume as many plastic bags as possible. Yes.
All right. Well, okay. So tell me, let's move on to some other stuff.
Well, I'm sure a lot of us like our iced coffees. The summer is hitting us, and you might use one of these little fellas. This is a biodegradable straw. Make sure you use one, if you especially got a little tickler like this. And you want to have a straw that breaks down, because if you throw it away, it will not be recycled. It will end up usually on the sidewalk, where Rob Creans will try to fuck it, because it's a hole, and it actually will try to reproduce anything with a hole. It's something I explore in my book, which is Micropenis in the Wild, Robs Don't Be Fucking, by Dr. Larry Nightingale, which is available on Amazon now, and explains how this stupid creature, which has somehow survived, usually through mopery and salty tear development of diet, has survived for years. And it's pretty incredible. Usually after fucking the straw or any hole, he will then brood about it, and sometimes write a one-man show about it. It's a very confusing thing. It's also explored in book Saving the Stupidest Animal, Rob Crean, by Dr. Larry Nightingale, available on Kindle, only on audiobook. A number of things that we all could be doing better, and that way we can reassure that America's resources are here for a long time, especially if you are focusing on diets. Rob, you have a specific diet, do you not?
I do, yes. Yeah, I'm vegan.
Yes, of course. We hear this a lot from him, which is why it led me to publish Eating Your Dookies Don't Make You a Vegan by Dr. Larry Nightingale. it just reminds us all that there are certain things that don't qualify as vague, and you don't have to talk about it all the time. I'd like to take some questions from the audience about environmental impact. Does anybody have a question for Dr. Larry about how they can help the environment? Yes, young lady with the glasses, like
Dr.
Martin
Larry,
Scorsese.
are other animals affected by mopery, or is it just Rob Crean?
Yes, for those of you that don't know, mopery is exposing yourself to the blind, which is mainly how Rob Crean achieves an erection. It's one of the rare things that you don't see in other species, but if there's a school for a blind, make sure you look behind the dumpster, because that's where you'll find him relaxing. Yes, young man in the castle.
So I know a lot of people are wearing masks out in public. Could you discuss a little bit about how the Rob Creans communicate and how this might disrupt their communication?
A lot of people know that mainly Rob Creans, when you hear their mating call, which can often be confused with cakefarts.com. It's usually when a woman sits in a big cake and then farts in it. It's one of these sounds that we really kind of can know exactly that Rob's in heat, which is usually after somebody reveals that she's about 15 or so and has a pixie haircut and perhaps believes in the power of crystals. So what we're looking for in these bath times is to cover your opening. That way the Rob Crean does not get confused and then try to stick his micropenis inside it. Great question. Go ahead, young lady. Yes, of course.
So Rob Crean seemed to be severely afflicted by having a hugely large amount of number 3s, which of course is when you don't pee or poop, you just burp out of your pee-pee hole almost constantly. I was just wondering if that's contagious and what you can do about that.
Well, I see that you're in close proximity to a Rob Crean young lady, and I will warn you that social distancing is something that should be practiced at all times with such an infectious, disgusting gray creature. I will say that the number 3s that Rob exhibit are mainly from his diet, consisting of his own dookies, French fries, and gas station salads.
It seems to be mostly hard little dog turds that he eats, though, these days.
That's
yes. And,
Dr. Larry,
it's... go ahead.
Just one more question. There have been a lot of, these poor dead Rob Creans found with those little potpourri sticks shoved up their little micro penis. What do you recommend that we do to avoid these unnecessary and honestly grotesque deaths?
That's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked it. Unfortunately, as we all know, Rob's suicides are inevitable. Most 9 out of 9 Rob Creans will usually kill themselves, which is why when one leaves your house, you never text, "Are you home?" You just always ask what the funeral details are. Unfortunately, many Rob Creans will then turn into a lump of shit like this because that's their natural and most honest state. But, in these confusing times, I want to leave us with a little bit of hope and something special. So I have a journal that I purchased as I'm a wealthy doctor. It's Abraham Lincoln's personal journal, which, as anybody knows, is pretty valuable. And just a little passage from Abraham Lincoln's section that always makes me feel a little bit better. It shows Abraham Lincoln pissing into Rob's gray mouth, and Rob is a Confederate sympathizer. And it's just something that I like to turn to in time of prayer and wonder about how he kept the Union together and how he liked to relax best by putting down an animal that should put itself down. Thank you all for having me.
Wait, I just need to say,
Oh,
I strongly disagree with pretty much everything that you've said in this. I don't think any of this was very helpful, and I think that it's.
There he goes. There he goes. Yeah, he's hungry. Look at him go. Look at him go. See, there he is. He survived. There he is.
Keep it going for Dr. Larry, folks. Dr. Larry.
Dr. Larry. Dr. Larry.
Larry,
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have one final scheduled guest. I believe I've been pretty out of sorts. So if you're booked on this and I haven't talked to you yet, let me know. One final booked guest who is a dear friend of mine and has been a regular at the Gas for many years. Please welcome Nick Ortolani.
Hey. We touched on it earlier, but like I go out a lot and I feel compelled to go out places a lot. And now that nobody can go out, I'm like taking a little bit of solace in just like staying still for once, which is nice.
Yeah.
A lot of video games, you know, nothing.
I really like that you and Katie have like almost the same background, but
yeah,
it's like,
I'm across.
It looks like
I'm across the room from him right now.
Yeah.
I do think we're technically in different rooms.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess
the Lord of Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Is this the Black Lodge that you guys are in?
Yeah.
It's a complex place.
Yeah, all the rooms have different meanings depending on what furniture's in it. It's really stupid. It's like a thinking man show. You wouldn't get it.
I like that show.
Well, you probably don't understand it then.
That's true. I don't understand it.
Yeah, see, like I understand it. Like I know what's going on.
There's no way that you could have understood that last season. No one understood that last season.
Oh my God, 100%.
I loved it, but I did not understand it.
Oh, it's pretty simple, you know. If you have a big wide brain like me.
Yeah, I've often heard your brain described as wide.
It's very wide. Very wide and very heavy.
Wide and heavy, dense, I guess is what you mean. Is that how you describe your brain?
Small and heavy if it was dense.
Dense. Okay.
It's very wide. It's flat, but it's wide.
Very flat.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that also how you describe your penis?
I tend not to describe my penis. I let it speak for itself.
And what does it say?
It says, "I'm scared." The weirdest thing that like happened right before this, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I had a couple of really cool opportunities come my way, like right as this shit was happening, and they obviously just like completely withered and died now that this has happened. And that's really like the only thing that like kind of bugs me, other than like the
well, I don't obviously like you don't. I don't know if how much you want to talk about this, but I mean, it's okay for me to say you would been drafted by the Boston Celtics, and we're supposed to play professional basketball in the NBA, and then because of this,
you could say it was the job I was made for.
That's obviously a joke. Let's get to the real thing. So you had some opportunities that fell through. So basically, you were supposed to be Kevin Spacey's personal assistant on House of Cards, and then the last minute, it turns out.
You have to say he's bad.
That's why Nick didn't get the job.
Well, he is bad because he told me I wasn't pretty enough. I have been out of work lately. It's been a little rough, as probably everybody here knows. I made my living as a street poet, and now that nobody's kind of out walking around, I can't write my little poems on my typewriter and hand them to strangers anymore.
Well, could you maybe do one for us now?
Oh well, I mean I'm in no way prepared to type out a poem for anyone. But
does anyone want street poet Nick Ortolani to write a poem for you? Katie Baker.
Just give me some kind of suggestion or something you want me to maybe write a poem about.
Having to go to the bathroom when you're in the basement and the bathroom's upstairs.
How's it going, Sean? I'm just going to talk with someone else while Nick types this poem.
I like your background.
I feel like this is a little bit how I feel right now.
It's
a bunch of fresh rolls that got dropped in a puddle.
Those are actually Rob Green's waste pellets. That
I actually thought they were pills, and you brought your actual own pills outside and for this purpose.
I definitely have a lot of pills I'd like to do that with. For instance, Wellbutrin. Boy, those things were not good. Yeah, not all bad. It does make your orgasms weird. Productive. Longer and more productive.
Piss. Full of piss. My weenie hurt us so much. So many stairs. Are the stairs me? I must release. It smells like most trucks. That's the poem.
That was beautiful.
Yes!
Oh, Angela. Okay, great. Just give me any kind of suggestion.
How about a conversation that I would likely to have outside of Great Scott?
So much pee in my wiener. Will they let me back in while the band sound checks?
Does anybody know where I can get a cocaine?
I'm Kendra. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's really good to see you.
Oh, you too. Yeah, this has been fun. Sorry, I've been multitasking. I have ADD, so nothing.
No.
What are you cooking?
What are you cooking?
Oh no, I haven't been cooking anything. I was doing dishes, and now I am trying to get my cat to play.
I've enjoyed open mics way more now that I can do other stuff. Yeah, I've been dart sharping a lot. Heather and I have been just playing darts during the midway mic, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, the one activity they never have in bars, darts.
They have darts at the real midway too, but they're in a weird place where it's often too crowded to play darts. Because the thing about darts is if you hit a person with them, it really hurts. Yeah,
sometimes you hit the exact right point for acupuncture, though.
Usually, when I'm not working at home, I work in Chelsea, which is the town with the highest amount of COVID-19 cases, and then also I've been hanging out with my cat. She's really clingy. Here, I'm playing with her now because I haven't been giving her that much attention. But this is my cat.
Aww, kitty kitty.
Yeah, she is very cute.
That is a very cute cat.
Yeah, she's 10 months old. Her name is Tula.
Aww.
Can you boop her snoot?
She'll probably try to attack me a little bit. Okay. Tula, come here.
Wait, Kendra, you're booping the snoot with one hand. You've got the cat toy in the other. How are you holding the camera?
Oh yeah. The challenge.
Oh, I've been holding I'm holding my phone and the toy in the same hand.
Hell yeah.
That's smart.
Some good POV directing.
This is for Angela Sawyer, and it's a conversation you might hear outside of Great Scott. Great Scott. Hey. So, yeah. You go to this place? Yeah, I guess. So my band is playing here soon. Oh yeah, what kind of music do they do? Oh man, we're kind of hard to describe. Try me. We're a hybrid of electro funk and Scottish polka punk. Most people don't really get it. That's cool. I know. So you got any coke? Yeah, let me just call my dad. My weed hurts so much.
Max. Yes.
So can I get a poem about what to do when Rob Green touches you on the shoulder and you start getting a rash there that looks exactly like the cover of Arcade Fire's Neon Bible?
Dr. Larry is here. The constant spreading of rashes is how Rob relates to the world, much like a virus out of control. As soon as you come in any sort of context, skin or via text message, you're going to contract something weird. So I caution all of you after this to wash your eyeballs after looking at Rob Creed's. Rob, you eat your dookie right now?
No, I'm eating popcorn.
Sure.
Which is what I actually eat, not my own dookies.
Sure.
That's actually that's a diet where you eat your own dookies. I don't know if it's called the Gary Peterson diet. Which is, morning you have a glass of diarrhea. For lunch, a glass of diarrhea.
Glass of diarrhea.
Sensible dinner.
How do you feel about diarrhea?
A lot of people don't like diarrhea. A lot of people hate diarrhea. Yeah.
Sure, but we're not asking what a lot of people feel. We're asking about you.
Yeah.
Man.
I like it. I don't even call it diarrhea. I call it liverrhea. I feel cleaned out afterwards, you know?
It's a temporary beneficial cleansing reaction.
Yeah.
Different streaks for different freaks, you know.
Here is from Max Frisky, and it's about what happens when Rob Crean touches you on the shoulder. The man, or at least that's what I think he is, gray being. He made contact with the elbow of my neck. At first normal, like home, but soon, without warning, it grows, festers, turns into a kaleidoscope of pus, much like Rob. Mutates into the camp artwork of a mediocre band, much like Rob himself. A forgotten relic of the hipster era. My weenie, I heard it so much.
I really like you. I like that you referred to the shoulder as the elbow of the neck. But really, if you turn sideways, your Adam's apple really does look like an elbow of the neck.
Thanks, guys. If you want it, I'll send these poems to you in the mail, and you can just Venmo me $400 for them.
Also, I just want to say, Nick, just the way that the light is hitting you compared to the background, you look just a lot less pale than you usually look.
I am doing this from inside a tanning bed.
Yeah. I also too. I don't know if you can tell, but my hair is like super bleached out from the sun. Really blonde from the sun.
Yeah, I'm gonna look like an Italian lady's handbag when this is all done.
That's pretty much the show, guys. Good night, students. We appreciate your presence.
Or
in
presence.
our city on a hill. Good night, students. Please don't tell your parents what I've done or what I'm doing today. We hope that you'll join us next Friday at Great Scott for the gas for the bill. Good night, students. We appreciate your presence in our city on a hill. I said that was the second one that ever sounded second to the time I co-hosted with Vally D.
There was only one time that we couldn't sing the song together.
After the show, though, we were like, oh yeah, it didn't sound very good, and we were like, yeah, it didn't work, whatever. And then Vally said, yeah, I think one of us didn't quite sing it right. And I was like, yeah. And then I believe Heather said, yeah, Vally didn't sing it right. And I said, yeah, I thought it might have been Vally. It was either Vally or the person that wrote the song and has been singing it twice a week for the past 14 years. One of us probably sung it.
I think one of my best qualities is the ability to sing your song correctly. So it's not my fault that you fucked it up one time.
He's back.
I gotta get out of here, Rob. It's good seeing all y'all. I
thanks so
assume
much
you're
for
gonna
being here.
continue doing these.
Yes, as far as I know.
Great.
Unless the internet doesn't get its lease renewed.
All right.
Can I thought, Rob,